Hello everybody, welcome to Success Channel. Today we'll be discussing on Consumer Protection Act 2019. We have esteemed guests, Mr. Sachin Daga, who is founder and managing partner of Daga Legal LLP. His firm has total consolidated experience of 66 years, and they work in various fields, including insurance, company law, land, consumer protection, etc. We have Mr. Ambar Gupta. He is head of legal and company secretary at Aditya Birla Sun Life Insurance. He is having more than 17 years of experience into regulatory, legal, compliance, secretarial, litigation, dispute resolution, etc. We have Mr. Rohit Salwan. He has more than 17 years of experience into litigation, non-litigation, the recovery of amounts due. And I'm Abhijit Tople. I'm Geo Financial Services. So let us start. Mr. Sachin, we'd like to ask you, the main provisions of Consumer Protection Act and what are the positives and negatives in the said act?
Yeah. See, the old Consumer Protection Act 1986, which is a more than 3 decade old act, we have seen that this Consumer Protection Act has given a lot of protection and provided customer interest, wherein it has given timely delivery of dispute redressal. However, over the period of time, during last 30 years, the consumer market has changed and undergone transformation drastically. In the new digital age, the products and services we are seeing, there is a global supply chain and there are international trade, and therefore, consumers are now buying electronically. Delivery system is now their products are delivered at home. Consumers can shop at their own convenience, so on and so forth. Therefore, new set of vulnerability for the customers have come into place, and that was the main reason that we required the amendment in the new Consumer Protection Act. So the new act, which has now come into action on 15th of July 2020, though it was enacted, passed by the Parliament on 9th of August 2019, contains certain new provisions and new definitions in the act to take care of the interest of the consumer. So the first and foremost change which has come in the new Consumer Protection Act 2019 is the introduction of the regulator CCPA, Central Consumer Protection Authority. This gives the consumers a sort of arena wherein they can file a class action suit, and they can recall the products, or ask the companies. The regulators can ask the companies to take care of the deficiency. So this was a lacuna in the last Consumer Act, Consumer Protection Act 1986. So therefore, this will be very, very helpful to the consumer, the CCPA. Now, so that's a regulatory part. Apart from that, there is the pecuniary jurisdiction which has come into place. So which has given consumers they can file their cases where they are residing and or their place of work. Earlier, in this jurisdiction, say suppose if the pecuniary jurisdiction was more than 20 lakhs, then only you can go to State Commission. But now here in this Consumer Protection Act, the pecuniary jurisdiction to the District Commission is 1 crore, and then in a State Commission it's 2 crores. So basically, people where they are, they can file. Otherwise, to go to State Commission, they will have to go to another city. That is number one. Number two, people can file case from anywhere, wherever they are residing. So that is a wonderful part where consumers can be benefited. Apart from this, there is also a mechanism now, provision for e-filing. So a customer can file online complaint and can ask for video conferencing also. This is a very good move in in today's age, and we see in COVID-19 how people have adopted this change, and this will definitely reduce the burden of the current forums. Now it has become commission, and therefore speedy disposal will be there. As we have seen in the erstwhile act, this was a hindrance wherein the customers were sorting relief quickly, but because of the system problems, this process was taking adjudication was taking longer time. E-filing will be a game changer in the new Consumer Protection Act. Now the definition of consumer has also been expanded. Earlier the corporate corporate was not able to file a consumer complaint. Now corporates can also file a consumer complaint. They will be treated as corporates. So this is a very good move. So definition has changed. Earlier the advertising this and multi-level companies, e-commerce companies, they were not a formal part of the Consumer Protection Act. So now, so like Amazon, Flipkart, and other companies who were just called as an aggregator, so they were getting advantage. So now they will also be under the scanner of new Consumer Protection Act. Then in the latest edition, the advertisement, misleading advertisement, will also can also see implication, and the person who is endorsing the brand can also can also face violations if there are, and if they are endorsing a false brand. Another important part of this Consumer Protection Act is the unfair trade practices have again widened. The horizon is widened. So for example, companies have got personal information of consumers. They cannot disclose until and unless it is called for under law. Otherwise they will not be allowed to disclose. So these are some main changes which has taken place. Apart from that, the act has simplified the adjudication process. So for example, the new state commission have state commission, national commission, district commissions have come into place. Minimum number of members have been increased in the state commission, and apart from this, there is a mediation as a part of alternate dispute redressal mechanism. So that's a fantastic part which has come into place, so that matters which are piddly matters, less than 15,000, so small matters which can be adjudicated then and there. We need not go beyond years to get such small matters to be adjudicated. So this is a very important highlight. While I have said all these positive points about this the new act, we can see a lot of negative points at present, because it will evolve. But still we need to see that how this is going to evolve in the next stage, wherein the speedy disposal which we are aiming for should be seen. I still think that it will be a long drawn process, though they have simplified, they have tried to simplify it, but still my opinion, it will be a long drawn process. So they should have come up with a fast track arbitration kind of mechanism over here in this new Consumer Protection Act, which could have given speedy disposal. So for example, we always said in the last act also, the cases should get over in 6 months, but I have seen cases not getting over even for more than 10 years. So this is the part still needs to be it should be looked after. But however, this new act will bring a lot of good changes, and that's my opinion vis-a-vis the old act.
Okay, Mr. Ambar, you have any inputs on this?
Thank you, Sachin. I'm audible. Yep. So I think Sachin has quite briefly covered main important aspect. A couple of things is that, for example, the Consumer Protection Act now specifically, includes into its ambit all kinds of transactions which has been done through electronic mode, both online mode, which was not there in the earlier definition of consumer. There's a small change in the definition of consumer, where which you can now, it brings into ambits all the kind of transactions which have been done both online and offline. So that would be a major uh, major change. There are a lot of definition changes which have been made, including in the definition of goods. One important aspect which was very, very significant in this act is the requirement of product liability. Now, this product liability for the seller, manufacturer was not there in the earlier act. Now, this is a major change from the entire, in the new act, which was not there in the old act. I think that is also a very, very important change which has uh, happened in this new act, which has come apart from what Sachin has already covered most of the important aspect. The, the CCPA, according to me, is an animal that we have to be very careful about, because it may have a duplicacy on the regulatory framework in which the companies operate. Now, imagine a financial services company like banking or in insurance or a mutual fund, which are already have regulatory authorities. Now, CCPA has another regulatory authority which will have power to investigate in your business affairs, in your practices, business ethics. They have order to investigate. They can institute criminal proceedings against you, apart from penalties and all those things. So I think that is another major area to be watchful for. And now the corporate has to deal with CCPA as well as another regulatory authority. So that because the penalties of non-compliance has gone up to 50 lakhs and imprisonment has gone up to 3 years. So these things are very critical. Apart from these two changes which I have mentioned, the change in the definition of consumer to include e-commerce and the product liability, which is a concept borrowed from UK actually and US.
Right. Mr. Rohit, you want to say something?
So look, I think Amber and Sachin, they have already covered the most of the aspect of the 2019 CPA beat pecuniary jurisdiction, which has been increased. The territorial jurisdictions have been shifted from service provider to the complainant where he can reside. We're talking about e-filing of the complaint, very good for that matter. Video conferencing, we are talking. Review power has been given to district forum. I think which is very nice. Because for a small error of a law or substance, you have to go to state consumer. At least the district consumer forums, they are all retired judicial officers. They should have a power to review their own judgment. I think that's a very welcome step for that matter. Mediation, yes, it's one of the final step that they have roped into the CPA 2019, and which actually improves which actually ideally it should improve the adjudication of the consumer matters for the matter. And yes, limitation period, they have remains, they kept the same for 2 years, but they have given the condonation of delay, which was actually we're referring in earlier 1986 eras, we are referring that to Limitation Act, but now it's a complete code in itself. So they have given the condonation power in the act itself. Then yes, product recall, as the Amber said, the withdrawal of services by the central authority, CCPA for that matter. And withdrawal of the hazardous good, unfair trade practice, suo moto action, which is a very big thing which has been put in the hands of the central authority by the legislature. And let's see, it's very interesting how they'll use that suo moto powers for that matter.
One thing which
yes,
I just want, one thing on the which Sachin, I just compliment what Sachin said on the change in pecuniary. One major change has happened is that in earlier it was the pecuniary jurisdiction was based on the value of goods and services. Now it has been replaced by the consideration paid. That is a most another significant change. So if you have paid whatever the consideration amount, which is less than 1 CR,
Right.
which will go into the district forum, and 1 to 10 of course state, and more than 10 is national commission. Earlier it was value of goods. So what people what used to do, they used to take the value of goods XXYZ and then used to add the compensation and everything, because of which the jurisdiction was increasing. and that's why they change it to consideration. Now, for an insurance, it is a very typical sense, because normally if you buy a particular product, say you bought a TV or a washing machine, you would have paid some amount, and the value will be equivalent to that amount only. But in case of insurance, it doesn't like work that. You pay only a small amount of premium, but your claim amount is maybe 10 times, 20 times, 30 times of the premium paid. Now, this is a unique situation when it comes to insurance. And one thing will happen that, which Sachin also mentioned, now with pecuniary jurisdiction going to 1 CR, I think all the cases will only land in district forum. Well, which consumer will buy a product which has bad, which you a retail consumer, which would have paid a consideration amount for a product which is of 1 CR, more than 1 CR, say 2 crore, 3 crore, hardly any, other than flat buyers in Mumbai, that, but mostly in retail white goods, which has which creates the most of the bulk of cases, will have this challenge, and that will increase immense load on the district forum, and I don't know how the cases will be disposed of. Sorry, I just thought to bring that perspective.
Yeah. So actually, Amar, this has been clarified by, I think, this point about the pecuniary jurisdiction. You know, the premium versus the, you know, the coverage, and specifically in insurance. That I think is, you know, the recently it has been clarified by the judgment also, one of it. So yeah, I was talking about the class action suit which is permitted already, told by the discussed by the Amber and Sachin for the matter. Yes, suo motu actions. We're discussing advertisement, endorsement again, which has been also been covered in CPA. And very interesting thing, you know, the endorsement, the exemptions has been given to the celebrity, that they have taken a due diligence. Very interestingly, you know, the agreement which have been drafted as an in-house counsel, I am saying the agreement which have been negotiated by the celebrity, they all have those kinds of clause, key all, you know, due diligence, whatever you say, due diligence has been done. So that is something very interesting needs to be seen during the, you know, the evaluation of this thing, because negotiation of these contracts become very challenged for that matter, because no celebrity wants all these kinds of, you know, liabilities on its head. Obviously they'll negotiate the agreements to that extent, so that everything will come into that clause fit. That is one very interesting thing. Yeah, disposal will say 3 months to 5 months. I really don't know with the practicability, as Amber rightly said, 1 crore, you know, matter, and with the power of civil courts, which have been, you know, recently vested on the all the commissions. 1 crore matter, if a bill say in, you know, in a district commission, and they have to dispose within 3 months and 5 months with a, you know, wearing a hat of a civil courts, I really don't see how, you know, this can be actually completed or concluded within 3 months, 5 months. So it will be a challenge, obviously, in the hands of the judiciary. Maybe mediations will come as an handy tool for that matter, because, you know, most of the matters will be, you know, pushed to the mediations, and, you know, some resolutions will happen fast. You know, the most important thing which I see, you know, the CCPA, though they have constructed, but what I see is in every industry, like insurance, have already a IRDA or IDA, whatever you call it. The real estate has a RERA authority, and there is a CIC also. You know, the CCI, sorry, Competition Commission of India is there. So when we are talking about what do you call the powers of the CCPA, correct? So the powers of the CCPA will absolutely conflict with these RERA and the IRD kind of, because the same things they are also handling, the similar matter they are also handling, and the similar matters are also handled by the CCPA. So maybe, you know, over a period of time, it's just a niche, you know, law. You know, a lot of things need to be evolved, and this conflict also needs to be settled down, because it should not happen that there will be a multiplicity of the litigation, or maybe, you know, window shopping kind of thing should not happen for that matter. Forum shopping, sorry, should not happen. You have tried RERA also, now let's try CCPA or the consumer forums also, and we have CCI also. Because when we're talking about unfair trade practice, it is also covered by CCA. So I really don't know what this new CCPA will, you know, deal with it. But maybe, you know, in a later part, or at the evolutionary stage, we need to see what exactly is the role of CCPA and how it should not be conflict with the, you know, established regulatory bodies like IRDA. I given you example, IBC also for that matter. Because now we're talking about the class suit. Class suit is also being allowed by the IBC. You know, the flat owner is considered as a financial creditor, and 10% of the financial creditors of the flat can also initiate a class suit. So how does it make different CCPA from IBC's another thing for that matter. So yes, these are few conflicts we need to see. It's a welcome step, a welcome step towards we can say it's a welcome step towards a consumer jurisprudence. We can say we have seen criminal jurisprudence. This is a consumer jurisprudence for us, and we have to deal with it with the new codes. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Ambar, what will be the impact of these changes on financial services, banking, insurance, mutual fund industry? Mr. Ambar, you can hear us?
Yeah. So impact in the sense, as I mentioned, for example, because it is a consumer-friendly legislation, and now the consumers can file the complaints both online and from the place they are resident, and increase in pecuniary limit in terms of replacing value with consideration. Of course, we see that there will be a larger number of complaints. It will become easier for people to file it. Definitely, we see that for their grievances, there will be an increase in the number of complaints which is coming on. Another important thing is that now entire online process has been also being coming under the purview of CPA. So they have come with the new e-commerce rules, which is a lot of conditions are being there if you want to sell any of your product online. So that those e-commerce will come. So definitely, it is going to increase the number of cases. We would need a very highly specialized kind of lawyers to deal in lawyer forums if they are handling such high value claims, especially for special contracts like insurance and banking. Because these are not normal standard contracts of sale and purchase of goods. So for financial services company, I feel a ripple effect of this new regulation. Online filing, as Sachin mentioned, has been already provided, and the process already started. The Ministry has already notified the online filing process. You have to register, advocates can file, customers can also file. You have to register. All those things have been already been done. So they would be seeing more cases becoming more vigilant in the current scenarios and ensuring. The requirement of timely filing become very critical. So you know that now within 30 days you have to comply the order. You have to file the reply within 30 plus 15 days. The Act says that within 21 days the complaint will be deemed as accepted. So a lot of procedure compliances will have to be adhered to. Non-compliance lead to execution, and 25,000 rupees earlier penalty has gone up to 1 lakh, and earlier 1 year imprisonment has gone to 3 years. So the consequences of non-compliance of these are very high. So I feel that as a financial industry, we'll have to be very, very careful about this and understand and read all those things. Class action suit, as we have been talking about, that is the biggest concern of worry, because in the class action suit, both the CCPA can take action. The governments can also become as a complainant. The consumer associations can now represent as a class action suit, which was not there earlier. So that is the biggest worry for financial. Mutual fund, I think, because earlier Act securities business were not covered under CPA, because people who were buying and selling securities like stock broking, mutual funds, they were not treated as consumer because it's for commercial purpose. So they have been kept outside the definition of consumer. So I think that same exemption may continue to mutual funds and those in the stock broker, but banking and insurance definitely will have it.
I just want to add what Ambar has said. Null and void for one company, and then how it will be applicable to all the companies. So this is again an interesting feature. But I also want to see that how they are going to implement such kind of rules and regulations. Let's see how this will evolve.
And one point is just to add is that now they have a new definition of unfair contracts and unfair practice. So unfair trade practice was earlier not defined, though in most of the orders we used to say it was in courts used to say that it's an unfair term, is an unfair contract. But now specifically it has come and put it in the new Act. And in case of unfair contract, it is very clearly mentioned that the State Commission has both the state commission and the national commission has been empowered to declare any terms of the contract as unfair and to nullified on a complaint filed by the consumer. Now, this is an express power which has been given, and they have given certain guidelines what will be an unfair contract, including unfair trade practices. That will be one of the challenges I feel to defend successfully, which Sachin has mentioned. That how do I convince that this is not something unfair kind of because we operate in a different matter. It's not just a normal sale purchase of goods. You just bought and there's a warranty and you can see the damage is there and you can replace it. Service and financial services contract operate in a completely different form, and we are not as advanced in UK that all the sale happen in a camera recording. It's a right on street. People are going and selling that, and what was communicated, what has happened. Policy contracts are technical terms. People don't read it. So that should be an interesting challenge.
Mr. Sachin, we have a question for you. What will be the impact of this act on digital, businesses as well as marketplaces?
Yes, very pertinent question because now the definition has included e-commerce. And when I say e-commerce, it means direct marketing, direct selling, multi-level marketing. So therefore, an electronic transaction, as Amber rightly mentioned. So all will be covered under the provision of new Consumer Protection Act. So therefore, now the consumers can file cases against these kind of digital transactions, and they can file cases from anywhere. So aggregators like Flipkart, Amazon, there are other various companies which are into just trading, and they are selling products basis the websites. They will also be a part of this digital marketing, and now this digital marketing is also covered under new Consumer Protection Act. So since these kind of businesses which has given opportunity for customers also, and as well as it throws new challenges onto them. So now suppose if someone has taken product from Chandigarh and sitting in Mumbai, so how to tackle this problem? So now those kind of problems also will be tackled by new Consumer Protection Act. So therefore, for the companies, now they will be responsible, and as Amber was mentioning, product liability. So even the manufacturer will be responsible for the deficiency or the defect in the product. So this is a very important this thing to promote and protect and enforce consumer rights. So this is a very, very important, and this will evolve because this is for the first time it has been the provision is there. So it will evolve, and consumers will definitely get benefit out of this provision.
Yeah, Mr. Amber, you have any inputs?
Just taking on the product liability part, not only the product liability, the manufacturer, even the service providers who are engaged with this product, they will also be liable. So that is, I want to, for example, you have bought a product from, say, some MNC company, some product, say LG or Samsung. Now you have a service center guy whom they have tied up in terms of providing the services to this product. So they are also be liable as a service provider as part of the product liability. That is also a very, very area to be looked into, because the manufacturer, seller, and service provider, all three are covered. That is one major area which I feel that which is good for the customers. Definitely, companies have to be wary about it in terms of how to do.
Right, Mr. Rohit, you have any inputs on this?
And,
yeah, continue.
And on the digital front, you want me to cover detail in the e-commerce rules?
Right. We would like to have.
So if you see that now there is a separate rules called e-commerce rules which has come. Now that clearly says and covers all the e-commerce entities which are engaged in buying and selling of goods through a digital platform. And if you see the definition of platform, it includes all kind of digital platform, including any part thereof. So if half of the thing you have done on online and half you are doing offline, everything will be covered. And then they have said that all those companies will now classify as e-commerce players, e-commerce rules will come, whether it's a insurance company, banking, mutual fund, any other manufacturer, everybody, all those will come on. And within e-commerce player, they have put a two requirements. One is inventory e-commerce player and marketplace e-commerce player. So inventory e-commerce player will be those who are selling their goods and services on their own product, on their own website. And if you are selling your products and services through a marketplace like Flipkart of the world or Amazon of the world, there they will be compliance requirement to comply as a market e-commerce player. So rules 4, 5, 6, and 7 are critical to comply with. 4 applies to all e-commerce players. Then rule 5 applies to market players, e-commerce market player. 5 is applicable for sellers' obligation on e-market players, and 7 is your inventory-based e-commerce player. So all are covered. Disclosure requirements are more or less similar in all those things. So as a seller, what I am supposed to comply on my website, similar obligation I have to ensure I have complied with on the e-commerce market player. E-commerce market player is also required to ensure that they have given all those requirements. Majorly the requirements is in the area of disclosures, proper information, and two important thing is that you have to now appoint a nodal officer who will be responsible for the compliance of e-commerce rules, and the appointment of grievance redressal officer who should be in a position to resolve this complaint within 30 days. And of course, then there are the disclosure that you have to okay, what will be my charges when the goods will be returned. If I'm returning, what is my return policy? What are the charges I'm to deduct, and so on and so forth. So there are various disclosure requirements which have come. But clearly, it has moved up standards of service. So those companies which are already regulated, like banking, insurance, which more or less have similar requirement by their respective regulator to compliance officer, grievance redressal officer, disposal of the complaints within 15 days. Other manufacturer companies which were never had any such regulator, through these e-commerce rules, you will be complying with some of these disclosure requirement and grievance redressal.
Okay, Mr. Sachin, you wish to add anything?
I think Amber has covered a major portion in this e-commerce. And as also if we include telemarketing, wherein people are calling for products, that will also be a part of this provision. So for example, there is an aggregator or a sub broker who is a part of the main principal company, so they will also be now involved. I'll give you one example. Earlier also people used to make them a party, but all the orders used to be against the principal company. But now the aggregator or the agents, they will also be held liable. And also the oral promises. Earlier, while I appear for against the consumers, so we used to say that all the oral promises which you are saying will not be considered. But now in this new act, oral promises will also be a part of the act. So this will be benefit for the consumers. However, the consumers should not take undue advantage, by making stories against the companies. They will say that the companies are dominant and we are like just consumers, and they take undue advantage from the companies. So they should the commission should be wary of these type of problems which are coming in specific parts of the country.
Mr. Rohit, you wish to say something?
Yeah. So look, as Ambar and Sachin say, the established player, the player who have a good corporate governance, I don't think they should be worried about it. Yes, it's a new thing for an intermediary, the aggregator, the ultimate seller. Actually, those are the people who are all these things. The governance part, the compliance part will be new to them. So maybe yes, from their perspective, yes, they need to pull up their socks and they need to comply with the rules, the rules which have been formulated by the court. So I think they should be more worried about it. I think on the established player, more or less, the banking or the insurance or in fact, the aggregator also who have a good corporate governance, they should not be worried about it. It's just a matter of compliance. They need to do it. Baki rest, the life goes on.
Yeah. So it was a great discussion actually, and the concerned stakeholders will definitely be benefited. Thank you everyone for being here on Success Channel, and thank you very much for sharing your knowledge with all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For continuing with this great initiative, I wish you all the best. Thank you,
Thank
Sachin
you.
and Rohit.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Thanks.